Today's story is about OCD, and then this is the true experience of my husband, Dam.
Yep, so there's me, born in Kidderminster, England, in 1972. A little village actually near Kidderminster, very rural, small population. So yeah, I grew up in the 70s in rural England. So yeah, it was a great place for kids, great place to grow up. Lots of outdoor activities, small community. I had a little brother who was born 3.5 years after me. I had friends there. I had a best friend called Miles, and it was good. Primary school was a breeze really. Moved to middle school when I was 9 years old, and that was a big change. A much bigger school, lots more kids. Everything was different, and it was pretty overwhelming. It was four primary schools came together in this middle school. So I knew from day one of being in this new school that it was going to be a very different experience. I was very daunted by it. Really, I wasn't positive. I wasn't positive about the change. I didn't really want to leave my comfortable primary school with all of the friends that I knew and all of the teachers that I knew. So I encountered new pressures, I guess, at this school, and everything you'd expect, really. I encountered bullying for the first time. Of course, I was the I was one of the youngest kids there, and there were a lot of older kids, a lot more kind of grown up than me, a lot bigger than me, intimidating. So that put a lot of pressure on me, and I was really, really anxious about that. Teachers as well. This was the sort of 1980, early 80s, and the school experience was quite different to the experience that kids in the UK have today. Corporal punishment was still a possibility, and it definitely happened at my school. Some of the teachers were pretty scary, quite erratic sort of behaviour. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of fear, and I really didn't want to go to school. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy anything about it. It was just a big shock, and it really did put a lot of stress on me. And I think that's probably why I started to experience some psychological problem. Although I didn't, of course, make any connection at all at the time. I don't think that I was sophisticated enough to realize even that I was anxious, that I was stressed. It was just the way that I was. So I did start to experience what would today be called obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. But that wasn't a thing at the time. Nobody knew what OCD was, and kids in middle school in the West Midlands certainly didn't understand what OCD was. I started to experience these weird, unproductive behaviours, little rituals, really very, very well understood and common now in kids my age, but at the time I had no idea what was going on. So I do things like feel that I needed to turn that door handle 3 times before I could open it. Perhaps I needed to open the door back and forth 3 times before I could actually walk through it. Little things like that. A lot of sort of doing things in threes, really. So everyday activities I needed to do 3 times. Uh, you know, turning the taps on and off 3 times, that kind of a thing. I remember I always needed to turn right as well. I needed to turn my body to the right. So if I needed to turn around, I'd have to turn to the right. I couldn't never turn to the left. I felt like it was wrong to turn left, or wrong not to do things 3 times. So this went on. It was part of me really for the next 3 years or so, and it's sort of just became a normal part of my life. I felt pressure to carry out these little rituals. I had to do them. I didn't really understand what was going to happen if I didn't do them. But I just felt that it was wrong. There was something bad. There was going to be some kind of consequence, some kind of retribution. So this went on for the next 3 years. One day, I had a paper round when I was 12, delivering newspapers. I finished my paper round one day, and I remember I'm riding home on my bike after my round, just sort of got to the crest of a hill, and I'm thinking about this stuff. I'm thinking about the fact that I do these little rituals, I do these things 3 times, and I remember thinking about how unproductive it was, and I remember just saying to myself, just deciding in my mind, I don't need to do this. There's not going to be any consequence if I stop doing this stuff. If I don't turn the door handle 3 times, there is nothing that's going to happen to me. I'm just not going to do it. And I remember quite clearly saying to myself in my mind, right, that's it. I'm just not going to do this stuff anymore. So I made that decision. Probably the first sort of, I guess, important decision that I made on my own in my life. And I just said, no, I'm not going to do this stuff anymore. And I think I sort of felt a weight lift off me immediately, really, and it really did end that day. From that point on, I didn't do any of that stuff. I stopped doing the rituals. I stopped always turning around to the right, it was a huge turning point for me, and sort of allowed me to deal with middle school, get through that. I went on to and move on to high school, which was a very different experience. I'm grown up now. I'm 47 years old now, and obviously these days we have a much better understanding of OCD, who gets it, how to treat it, which I didn't have at the time. I still feel occasionally that pressure to carry out these rituals. I'll turn a door handle and think, oh, I've got to do this 3 times for a moment. But it's not stronger than me and my willpower. So although it's probably always going to be there with me, it's not it doesn't rule my life anymore. And it's something that I can control. I can deal with without any problem. So yeah, it all turned out to be fine. And OCD is a memory for me and something that I've experienced and I was able to deal with. And I can go on through my life, having had that experience and be stronger for it.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing your OCD story you had. So tell me about the beginning, how you started to feel something was different.
I guess I just became aware that I was doing lots of ritualistic things, pointless things, like having to turn a door handle 3 times before I open the door, or opening a door 3 times. I just became aware that I was doing those things and that I felt pressure to do them. And if I didn't do those things, I had this kind of feeling that something bad was going to happen, or it was the wrong path to take. I think I just became aware of that.
So that was when you were around 9, when you started the middle school, do you think?
I think it was around about 9. Yeah, I remember being at middle school, and I remember being at a friend's house, and my friend lived in that house when I was at middle school, so yeah, it must have been around 9 years old.
So yeah, I was quite surprised to know that it discontinued until when you are around 12 years old. Did it become more and more like I don't know, bigger thing, or yeah, how did it go during these 3 years?
I don't remember it becoming I don't remember it getting worse. I think it became like it became something that was part of my life. But I think I was always aware that it was not good, that it wasn't productive. I felt compelled to do these ritualistic things. But yeah, I don't think it didn't get worse. It was just always with me and always kind of interfering with just everyday life.
But yeah, apart from this, things that you're having with OCD, you still led, kind of happy middle school, like life in the meanwhile, or was it a bit stressful as well?
No, I found middle school very stressful. Transitioning from primary school, which was a small school in rural England in a village, to a middle school which was actually still in rural England, but it was 4 primary schools came together into one middle school, so it was a lot bigger. It was tougher. There was, there were pressures like older kids, bullying, a whole new set of teachers, higher expectations than there were at primary school, where I knew everybody and everybody knew me. No, I remember being very anxious about middle school.
Okay, right. So then comes to this, so you are a paper round boy, and in this big village, and then you are on top of the hill on the way back. Can you, tell us about your experience on that day?
Yeah, I remember I was doing my paper round, and I think when I had a paper round, I was 12 years old. And I remember coming home. I'd finished my round. I was on my way home on my bike. Came over the brow of a hill, and I remember I was thinking about these things that I did. Doing stuff 3 times and everything. And I remember thinking about how negative it was and how it wasn't helping me. And I remember just saying to myself, in my mind, right, I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm going to stop. And I did. From that point on, I didn't do any of that stuff anymore.
So you had a really strong will at that time that could conquer the fear of breaking it.
I think I'd just come to the realization that it was all in my head. There weren't going to be any consequences if I didn't do those things. It was up to me.
Did you ever discuss this with your family or teachers or counselors?
No, I didn't discuss it with anyone.
And then did you know the thing called OCD at that time?
No.
No, right?
Didn't have a name. Yeah, I didn't really understand it as a thing that affected other people. Yeah, I didn't really have any perception of it being a sort of a condition or an illness. I just knew that it was something I did that I didn't need to do.
Okay, so lastly, I want to ask you, for example, if anyone is going through this period like you, like 9 years old, 12 years old, what kind of advice can you give them?
Talk to someone. I mean, it could have been sorted out a lot quicker if I'd raised an alarm, talked to my parents, talked to my teachers. I think at that time, it probably was perhaps less likely to be dealt with as a mental condition that could be fixed. But these days, people are far more aware of that kind of a thing. There's a lot more available in terms of treatment. It can be picked up in school by parents and dealt with very quickly. And that probably wasn't available to me as a 12-year-old boy in the early 80s. But yeah, if anyone experiencing that now, talk to someone about it.
And then you're quite sure that can be, healed.
Oh,
or
yeah.
can be lived with, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can imagine there being a lot of immediate treatment for that, cognitive therapy.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. And then, are you happy as an adult now?
Yeah. It's still there in my mind. I still, feel the pressure to there's something in the back of my mind sometimes saying you need to do that 3 times, or you need to turn right. If you're going to turn around, you can't turn left. It's still there occasionally, but I don't. It's not stronger than my will, so it doesn't control me.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.